Uh, in this lesson, we're looking at how we can draw inferences. And so the focus is on um, essentially three different strategies or aspects of making inferences from data. And the first thing you're going to see here is an example one. It's just an overall examination of the way the data is displayed. So, how it's displayed, and then how can we use that display in order to draw some sort of conclusion or make inferences. And then the next thing you're going to look at is how can you use measures of center like mean, median, mode. How can you use those to be able to draw conclusions? And then finally, you're going to actually be using data to make numerical predictions. So this first, it's going to get a little bit more specific as we go. So at first, it's just a real general type thing. So here's the situation that you're given here in this graph. Sasha is trying to convince her mother to change her bedtime on school nights. She gathers data on the average number of hours of sleep that a random sample of seventh graders, students in her school, get each night. Now, it's not telling us how Sasha came to this random selection, like what she did. They're just telling us it's random, and so we know that she has a random sampling. We can tell how many it is. We can tell how many it is based on the dot plot, because in a dot plot, we actually see the individual data points. So we could actually count if we wanted to see the sample size, but we don't really know the population size at this point. We just know that we're talking about seventh graders in her school. So that's probably, who knows? I mean, it depends on the school, but like at our school, it's like 300 people. And her point is she wants to be able to go to bed later. Like she feels like her mom's got this bedtime and she's done with it. She wants to go to bed later. So she finds out. Okay, so she goes to bed at 9. She has to get up at 6:30. That gives her 9.5 hours of sleep. That is 4 hours more than me on a daily basis. Good for you, Sasha, and your mom. Anyway, so she collects all this data, and this is a very healthy school with people who have lots of sleep. I mean, there's a person here who's get 10.25 hours of sleep. Do you see that in the dot plot? 10, that's the thing that draws me. 10.25 hours of sleep. What time are they going to bed? This person here in like 8 hours of sleep. I don't know. How many of you are getting 10.25 hours of sleep every night? If you are, congratulations. Anyway, Sasha displays the data in this dot plot. We call it a line plot, dot plot, doesn't matter. It's called a line plot, because of the line. It's called a dot plot because it has its dots. I guess they couldn't decide which one's more important, so they gave it both names. All right, so as you can see the way it's distributed. So when we talk about the distribution, that means like how is the data spread out? What does it look like when we look at it? And so it's where it says step 2, you can see that they kind of show that it's like a curve. How at the beginning there's not as many people getting 8, 8.5, and it kind of starts to peak and then comes back down again at the 10 and 10.25. So where's the like bulk of the data? Like where's the majority of it? And if we had a box and whisker plot, that would be like your the box where the 50% of the data would be. So, but in a dot plot, it's more like you're eyeballing it. So it looks like, and that's why it's boxed here, it looks like right around this region is where the majority of the data is, and that's where it kind of starts to peak. So it seems like the majority of the people are getting somewhere between 9 and 9.5 hours of sleep. Well, that's right in line with what Sasha gets. She's getting like 9.5 hours of sleep. So it seems like she's really around the same as everybody else. It's not significant. There's no significant data saying that people, kids in her grade level are getting less sleep than that. There's some that are getting less sleep, some that are getting more. So she's right now. She's at the mode. So like I can't help but whenever I look at a dot plot, you always look at the mode, right? You look at the highest. And so it looks like, she's as we look at the cluster of data, she's on the higher end. So maybe she could argue, maybe she go to bed 9:30. Maybe her mom would give her so that she's only having 9 hours of sleep. Maybe 9:15. She can negotiate, but it doesn't seem like she has any significant, that's what it says here. She will not be able to convince her mom to let her go to bed any later, probably because there's no significant data that's actually suggesting that people are getting less than 9 hours of sleep. So that's how you use, I mean, it's real vague. It's not, there's no calculations that we're doing here at this point. We're just looking at the numbers, we're looking at the picture and kind of see where the most dots are and where it peaks, and using that to make inferences. That's it. Thanks.